All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting weekend edition of the Three Amigos podcast. I'm your host, or more, one of the three participants of this thing, Joel. How's it going, Mark?
Very good, thank you. How's it going, Brian?
How's it going, Brian?
Excellent, excellent.
I had to say that in stereo. So, who has held on to their sanity this week? Raise your hand.
Oh man,
I'd put my feet up.
Come on, Mark. You never had any to begin with. Boom.
It's been a crazy week, man.
Yeah. What stuck out for you most, Mark?
Everyone was looking at the Bitcoin price. It's been impossible to ignore. And you remember when we first started the Three Amigos, and we'd always do that tweet of the week. Well, you retweeted.
I honestly don't remember.
You don't remember that? Oh, okay.
No.
You retweeted a tweet from Vinny Lingham.
yeah.
And he said something great on Twitter. Just remember, the people buying Bitcoin today don't love it for the technology. They love it for the promises of riches it will bring. If those promises are ever broken, they'll quickly move on to the next big thing. #human condition. How do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like people are pouring into Bitcoin and they've just seen it in the mainstream media, they don't understand it, and they're just doing it for investment purposes? Or do you think it's just, or do you think it's smart money coming in? What do you think?
A little bit of both. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, Joel?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a lot of FOMO. That's the biggest thing. And that's among the smart and the dumb money. There's a lot of smart people who are kind of on the sidelines saying, I don't know, people keep talking about this whole thing, but we'll see what happens. And then at this point, they're like, all right, it's kind of too big to ignore. I kind of have to get in here. And there's also a lot of people that just think it's stupid and like, oh, well, I guess I should buy some now that it's at an all-time high and it could only go down. Like, there's a lot of that. One thing's for sure is the reason people are buying into it is because it's going up in value, and specifically it's going up in value versus fiat currency systems. So that's a valuable use case, right? It's a store value that's a hedge against the current, in my view, horrific financial systems. However, there's the whole other use case that's not even being touched. No one is buying Bitcoin because they want to use it. Everyone just wants to hold it and then cash out if they need to. But no new people are buying into Bitcoin because they have some hope it's going to be easy to send at some point.
Why do people buy gold? As it's like a safe haven, right? Sometimes we focus on the technology, but that has uses as well. It has intrinsic value and could be used for industrial applications. Yeah. But I can understand, like with the fiat monetary system, look at saving bank accounts around the world. You're not getting that much. So I guess with people seeing these returns now, maybe it's not essential. I know Max Kaiser always says Bitcoin gold 2.0, but if people can get money out the fiat money system and use Bitcoin kind of as a safe haven to leverage against money, then I can understand that. As you said, FOMO, they don't want to miss out on a golden opportunity. However, Bitcoin's gone up 20 times in the last year. Dash has gone up 80 times in the last year.
Well, one thing I check is I check the silver price every day, and I noticed that silver is taking a hit here as this big Bitcoin bull run has taken off. So there is some larger players. I'm guessing that's what's happening is they're selling silver and getting into Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's the other thing, though, is going back to the Vinny Lingham tweet. That's kind of dubious for the precious metals folks, because basically they refuse to see the value in digital currency, and basically all gold it's just got value because you can touch it and stuff. Well, you can touch it as you throw it in the trash when it's worthless. And I don't think it ever will be. I think that precious metals will always be around as a good store of value, but there's a lot of that value tied up in gold for example, gold, is not because people like gold and want to use gold or anything. It's as a counter fiat hedge, or counter fiat hedge, or newer, sexier counter fiat hedge. A lot of that value in gold is going to just whoop go right over to the new kid on the block. And guess what? You know, it's like Game of Thrones up in there. You know, you can just be on the Iron Throne, but you're going to get stabbed eventually.
Way back in the day, in 2013, I had some Bitcoin, and the price was bouncing around. It had gone over 100, and then it briefly crashed under 100, and I got kind of worried, and so I bought a bunch of silver from, I think it's Amaji Metals there in Denver. I think they've switched ownership now, but yeah,
funny I got one of their rounds right there.
There you go.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got that in the Fed round.
See, this is real. You can touch. I've paid so many bills with this.
Well,
actually, as recent as a few years ago, I have bought things with physical silver before.
I think this is a really interesting, because we all kind of come, in some ways, we've all been on the same journey. So this is like episode 29 now, and I feel a lot of our long-time viewers have a good idea like who we are and some of our background, but we've never really spoke about the origins and well, let's do story time. So Brian, for example, what got you into cryptocurrency, and what was can you remember the moment, the point that you just thought, right, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to buy into this, and what made you do that? Can you remember?
Not exactly. Just being on the Ron Paul, the Daily Paul website back in the day, people were talking about Bitcoin, and I was just dismissing it because I was a gold, silver, mostly silver guy. And, you know, it was just this internet fake money, and I saw it, and it, you know, people did post about it, but yeah, it took a while to get into it. But I was, you know, the Bitcoin that I sold when I panicked, when it went under 100, and I thought, oh, we don't know where this is going. And I bought all that silver. It was literally thousands of dollars worth of silver in 2013, which is horrible. I mean, I was thinking, because also around 2013 or maybe even 2014, I told you all this story, I'd sent my mom like $100 in Bitcoin for like Mother's Day or birthday or Christmas or something.
She lost it.
And she was looking at it again. She had called, we were talking, and she was looking at it again. It had gone up to like $3,000 now. And wow. Yeah, I can imagine how much all that. I've still got the silver, but yeah, I wish I would have.
What made you buy though that first time? Like what? So like you was aware of it, you saw it in some forums, people talking about it. But what was the point that you just thought, right, I've got to buy some now? Or was you just experimenting? Or can you remember what pushed you into doing it?
I was going to buy weed on Silk Road.
I had no idea you was going to say that. Right. Okay. I'm going to switch over to Joel now, because talking to Brian is just dangerous. Okay.
Yes.
I sold silver.
Joel.
I sold silver to buy it, my Bitcoin.
You're quite interesting, Joel, because you've got an interesting background, but you kind of saw cryptocurrency as a social experiment. Is that correct? Or...
Yes. Basically, I got into it for the wow. No, all seriousness. Yeah, I was a precious metals person as well, just because I learned early on from like Ron Paul and folks like that, actually pre-Ron Paul, but about sound money, right? That fixed supply currency that can't be manipulated, isn't just like printable by a central authority, has some great value, and especially something that's not controlled by a government. So I thought, hey, gold. So I got into gold and silver, or I got interested. I didn't really have any money to throw into it, but was trying to get one of Peter Schiff's like gold debit cards, or what, a gold-backed debit cards or something, so I could actually keep savings in gold. And then on my drive to New Hampshire, when I moved over here, a friend of mine who I met up with in Chicago, we had a lunch, and he paid for his part of the pizza in Bitcoin. He says, here, send this Bitcoin thing. I kind of heard it mentioned in the same circles. I didn't really know anything about it, just that people are saying it's like the next gold type thing. And so I got it. I'm like, oh, this is nice, $10, you know. And then by the end of the year, that's 2013, it was like 1,100. So it was like $110 worth. And buying and selling things with it. And I was just like, well, that's it. No one's doing this with gold. This is so easy. I can just go beep, send it to someone, So that's all I care about anymore. And so I was just all about giving people rides for Bitcoin, chopping wood for Bitcoin, doing just any kind of odd jobs on the side that people would pay for it. And then in late 2015, I just decided to start working all for Bitcoin. And I got a job at Cointelegraph, started writing for them and everything. And then
was it more technology based though, in terms of just of use, or was it just because you liked the philosophical angle of it? You kind of saw it as a movement.
It was a half and half thing for me. Half of it, or no, it was 2/3, 1/3. 2/3 of it was philosophical, as in this can change the world if people can money away from you. You be your own bank. You don't have to rely on anyone else who holds your financial future. That was the big thing for me. That was 2/3 of it. And the 1/3 was I just sent someone something so easy. Like I was at, like, we'd go out to eat and then someone would be like, oh, I've left my wallet. Oh, it's okay. Just send me some Bitcoin for it. And just that, like, you can't do that with cash because you have to have enough cash in the right denominations and all this kind of stuff. You can't just tap your credit card on their phone. Balance goes to there. Like, just this digital cash element was just like, wow, this is cool. Like how can't you just pay anyone, anywhere, anytime, just for almost free instantly? Like this is world changing. I mean, liberty aside, this is world changing.
Yeah, and this is before the $25
Bitcoin still has that
transaction fees.
Oh yeah, and then now we go there. That was my blockchain.info wallet. Was my first wallet ever. And then yesterday, I found out I still had like $250 of Bitcoin lying around in there that I thought I cleaned out. Someone just sent me some money. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Bitcoin's at a high. I'm going to shapeshift it to Dash because why would I want Bitcoin, right? Anyway, so I sent it to shapeshift and the transaction's been stuck for like 30 hours. Pay the default fee, pay like $20, $25 worth. That's like a tank gas, like forever. And so Bitcoin just is completely, it's a very cool, novel thing still, because people are putting value into something that's not, like, as much as I have misgivings against the current core development team of Bitcoin, they can't stop people from accessing their funds. They can just make it slow and expensive, but they can't. No one can control still. No one can take away your money from you, and that's still valuable. But as far as like the digital cash aspect, is useless. It's a terrible form of payment. My Dash has been going up. It's a good store of value, and I can buy anything. It just send people a small amount, a few cents, whatever, and it just goes up. So I don't have, that's the thing, is like I would use, oh, Bitcoin is a store of value and some other coin is like a faster transaction thing. It's like, yeah, except I'll do the fast transaction thing, and then I realize, oh, that's a better store of value too. I'll just, stick it on Dash.
I feel like this would be a really
unapologetic Dash maximalist. Look at the wall. Look at that, all over the place. I just need a Dash tattoo right here, and I'll have the whole thing complete.
Yeah, and I think anyone listening that finds that interesting, I think Joel, I was going to say recently, but I think it was last week, Joel done a really good article, and this would be a really good time for you to plug Joel, talking about his history, how he got into Bitcoin and how he transitioned into Dash and those reasons for it. What was the title of that article, Joel? Can you remember?
I'll find it in a second.
Yeah, dashforcenews.com.
Yes, of course. But
basically, it's a good article, and I really recommend checking that out. While Joel's looking for the title, I want to switch over to Brian. So, Brian, you mentioned about Bitcoin, but you got involved in Dash quite early on. So, how did you find out about that? Well, sorry, Darkcoin at the time, and what made you buy into it? And did you just buy a little bit at first, or did you go balls deep? Like, what's the story? How did you get involved?
Yeah, I was posting stuff on that Daily Paul about Bitcoin and stuff, and then I believe there was a Coinbase article about Darkcoin. I don't know. That might have been after the pump. But yeah, I read about it somewhere and started looking into it. It was Darkcoin at the time. And Yeah, it was like 55 cents. I remember that 55, 65 cents on Cripsy. That's when I bought in.
So this was still, this is like 2014. So what is this, a few months after it
I think
launched?
it was March. Yeah, a couple of months after launch is when I finally bought in. I did a little bit of research, but yeah, I like the privacy aspect, obviously. And then I went all in. Yeah, so I had Litecoin and stuff like that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better.
Whole jar of mayonnaise too.
But I sold all the.
Why would you do that?
The thing that really got me
Bitcoin.
in. Yeah, the thing I had lots of Bitcoin and Litecoin was the second shitcoin I had. Another, I think I had a non-coin. People may not remember a non-coin. I may have even had a non-coin before dark coin. I don't know what happened to a non-coin. But yeah, the thing that really got me to flip and put everything in dark coin at the time was the master nodes, and seeing that you could, I figured my money could just sit in Bitcoin and not do anything, or I could put it in these master nodes and earn a return, which at one time was like over 15%. So yeah, it was really good. But that's what got me. Or it was privacy. It was privacy and store of value, and just
why was that important to you though? I mean, like, you've been using Bitcoin for a while. You're on the forums. You see this, so you just saw the privacy aspect, and you just thought this is something in that space that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, it was an improvement. It was an improvement over Bitcoin, and then the master nodes and earning return. Like I say, the Bitcoin could just sit there and not earn anything, or it could go into Dash, which seemed to be moving up, and it could actually earn a return. And that's one thing that kind of worries me now, is because the master nodes are so high. I know we have the shares and stuff, Splolic and Mukau, but yeah, I really don't want to wait 2 years for these interest-bearing accounts, because that was one of the things that really got me to flip and just go all in. And I think we're missing a lot of that segment. A lot of people are going to go into the proof of stake coins and stuff like that, saying they can just earn the return. So yeah, hopefully we get that sooner rather than later. I would love to see it.
Yeah. So you kind of came from a different angle then, because Joel came more from a utility angle. He wanted something that he could use. Bitcoin could no longer fill that bill for him, so he had to explore and research and find something fit for purpose.
I was a little bit earlier though,
in a situation, and then you was no longer happy holding, and you saw issues with that. So
Bitcoin was still, the fees weren't crazy though. I didn't have the issue that Joel had. The fees were still.
That was when it worked, right? 10-minute.
Yeah, it worked.
But even then, it still was not ideal.
It just didn't have privacy. It had no privacy. Yeah, that was one of the main things.
Yeah, because Joel, you did an article, right, back in the day on Cointelegraph, and that wasn't that the.
Dash or
I think it was one of your first articles on Dash on Cointelegraph, which I think opened up your eyes. Is that correct?
You mean to Dash?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so the first time I ever heard about Dash was in 2014. I went to the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and someone was selling bacon pancakes, and he was accepting Bitcoin, Litecoin, I think Namecoin or Peercoin, one of those ones, and Darkcoin. And I'm like, what's this Darkcoin thing? I never heard about that. And I kind of like, oh, it's like super dark, private, whatever, Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. But that's like as far as I kind of got there, until like a year and a half ago or so. I was looking at a bunch of cryptocurrencies and just doing some research, and I sort of stumbled across Dash, and I heard about it. Partially, one of the big ways I heard about it was my former roommate, Amanda B. Johnson, was doing the daily decrypt at the time. And I'm like, all right, like I kind of kept track of her political videos before, and then she's doing the daily decrypt. And I was just like, oh, interesting. I'm kind of keeping an eye out. And then I kept on hearing I heard a little bit more about Dash through there, although I already sort of knew about it. And then I said something about Dash in some article, and when I tweeted it out, some was it the Dash Dalmatian dude, Tao Satoshi, like tweeted at me and was like, "Hey, come into the Digital Cash Slack," which then turned into the Dash Nation Slack, which now is Dash Station.
So we have to
Discord
thank
channel,
Tao.
dashchat.org.
So we have to thank Tao. Is that what you're saying?
I was already
Sounds like you're saying we have to thank Tao.
being in part of that community, yeah. As far as knowing and liking Darkcoin or Dash, I heard about it a while and just sort of investigate. Already writing about it, and I was looking to interview people, and that's when he said, "Hey, come in here." Then I interviewed Mukau Mu of Legend for my first article, and I was like I remember he was the first guy I ever interviewed by his handle, not his birth name or whatever. And so I was a little bit weird about, thought it was weird to just quote, according to Mukau Mu, blah, blah, blah. It felt a little bit weird and unprofessional, except just the quality of the stuff that was coming out of his mouth was just unparalleled. So, of course, it's like, well, it speaks for himself. He can call him whatever he wants if he's that smart. It was all about the Dash and drink machine, right? About the using instant send for the vending machine. I was like, oh, instant send sounds cool. And I just started getting into it. And then at some point, I remember, because for a while I was doing the old Cointelegraph, which I'm still doing today, which was saying, and privacy is going to be important, which is why coins like Dash and Monero are doing well. Privacy-focused altcoins, that whole thing, like without looking deeper into it. And I remember my first experience. So I actually thought that, I thought I wrote about Dash and Monero briefly and just the basics. And then I was very interested in both.
Monero love you so much, right?
Well, it's funny. My first experience, I was like, first I looked at their site and I was like, interesting information, but it looks kind of like an old GeoCities site, which they've since updated. It looks a lot better now. But then I was writing about it and then some random hater in the comments was just like, Monero is the only thing good. If you don't use it, you're a stupid idiot, and your Dash just sucks. Like, I didn't have a fight in the game, but I was just like, I instantly just said, well, you're a terrible representative of your coin, because that's no way to get anyone on board. That was like my first experience, was in an article writing about Monero in a positive light, just some trolls attacking me, because that's what tends to happen. So over time, I just got sort of sucked into the thing of just learning more about Dash, hanging out, talking to the community, getting frustrated with Bitcoin. It was sort of like the perfect storm.
Hang on,
and there you go. Just one.
If you want to be integrated into an exchange, business, or whatever, that you shouldn't be salty, trolling, and threatening to get what you want. Surely.
Yes, exactly. You attract more flies with towel than you do with fluffy. Whatever. you should be nice, and I can't believe I have to say this. Just be nice to people. But like, seriously, it was like my first experience with a live. I was very interested in Monero. One of the first experiences with a live person, or ostensibly live. I didn't check, but talking about that was just this weird hostility against someone who was saying nice things about them, and it was like, where did this come from? And I have to reference yesterday's tweet. So, Uphold, right? Uphold is a really practical cryptocurrency exchange. A good way to buy it, right? You get the Uphold app, you get your verification done, you can just buy Dash almost instantly. They just added Dash, and it's been big. It's been great. And also, Uphold allows you, through their partnership with Bitwage, to be paid in Dash. And I wrote an article about that too. So yesterday, lead developer, core, whatever you want to call him, the head honcho of Monero, Fluffy Pony, shared a screenshot of this tweet of Uphold holding a poll a few months back, which I remember because I participated in, asking, "Hey, who do you think we should add for our next currency?" And by an overwhelming margin of votes, Monero won. As far as you look in the comments of the tweets, it's like pretty heavy in the Dash territory and a few other coins, like Verge. That was when Verge Twitter bots were all over the place. And so then they added Dash, and then so he shared that screenshot of the poll, and then that they're adding Dash, and it had this really salty, sarcastic listening to it and adding of the thing that they want. Oh, it's just so great that you're so in tune to what your customers actually want. Give them what they want. Just like so pissy that Monero didn't get added. Like, dude, you're yelling at a company. Like, they're not going to add you now if this is how you act. And then I responded to him in a couple tweets, and then Uphold was in the Uphold official account was in there liking my tweets and stuff, and I'm like, oh, there you go, it's over now.
They've had the same issue for a long time with Jax, and then even going back further, there was y'all know that one VPN, and there were several things like that didn't add, that chose Dash over Monero. Yeah. But I want to hear what Mark's. Yeah, I want to hear Mark's story about how he got into Dash.
He was buying frozen pizzas one day, and then someone said someone bought a frozen pizza, and he just says, "Right, that's the shit. I'm going to get all that I can." And then there you go.
That would actually probably be a more interesting story. Well, I think we've already shared before that me and Joel had an exchange even before we started to work with each other in probably early 2013. Well, I was actually in a Cointelegraph
on the podcast before.
Not by Joel, I don't think. Well, that would have been really weird. No, I don't think it was you that interviewed me. But yeah, I did a petition for Bitcoin, and I was a big business advocate. Like I just thought Bitcoin was going to change the world, and I was just singing the gospel of it. I was probably that annoying friend in the pub that upsets everyone, and I just thought, right, you got to be the change you want to see. So I was creating these online petitions, going for big businesses to accept, kind of like what you see on like change.org and that sort of stuff. And yeah, eventually start up a Bitcoin merchandise website, surprise, surprise. And that did quite well. And yeah, but then I realized I ran into all these issues. I'd be in the pub on a Friday night with my mates drinking beers. And I know I've said this before, but there may be new viewers watching, so sorry for those that have already heard this before. I'd be sitting there, and most of my friends are tradesmen, right? They're builders, electricians, plumbers. They're not into the technical world. Some of my friends are in the IT thing, but my close school friends that I drink with, they're just real people. They've got families, commitments, mortgages, all that sort of stuff. So I would be talking about this, but they look at it from a really practical perspective. And this was about 2012-ish, I think, probably around, maybe even before that. And they would just be like asking questions. Well, so what? Do I replace my bank account with it? And I'd be like, well, you can't just do that. Yeah. I've got a joint account with the missus. Can I have the same joint account? Well, not yet. Copay wasn't really that thing then. And even now, it's still not ideal to replace a joint bank account. Can I pay my mortgage with it? Can I pay my direct debits with it? They were just throwing all this stuff at me. And I was like, well, this stuff's going to come along down the line. You don't want to miss out. Help build it. Let's create the thing that we want to see. And it got to the stage where I got a couple involved, and this was pre-Mt. Gox stuff. And they were just like, it's so slow. Like, if I want to send something to them, they just used to things being instantaneous, right? Well, if you're in the pub, you're paying by cash. If you go to an ATM, you get cash out. So for them, they don't think about the in terms of settlement, whether it's getting money out from the ATM and then it shows up in your online statement in 3 days' time. For them, that doesn't matter. So they're just kind of like, it's so slow, and I've got to pay a fee for it as well. And they just didn't understand the grand scheme of it. So I actually noticed some. It was around probably the same time as Brian, actually, where people just started to say, Bitcoin's not private, Bitcoin's not private. And all these conversations were coming up, and people were talking about the dark wallet for Bitcoin and everything else. And the time where Brian says, I think around the March time, was around the same time where Max Kaiser had that episode out, the nefarious Bitcoin, I think it was, because, at that time, it was just gone from Xcoin to Darkcoin and had Cody Wilson on, etc., etc., etc. But I knew privacy was going to be a big issue. Now, for me, I don't go on the Silk Road and buy drugs and that sort of stuff. I never have done that sort of thing, right? But I knew privacy and fungibility and that sort of stuff was essential if this thing was going to work. Now, before I didn't go from Bitcoin into Darkcoin straight away. I actually hopscotched. I kept some Bitcoin, and I actually went to.
Did you go into Litecoin?
No, I actually I took an unconventional.
I noticed you're swallowing hard because there's some guilty admissions coming up in the next couple minutes.
It was actually. It was a coin. I spoke to Brian about this before in depth. It was a coin called Quarkcoin, and this was probably one of the first labeled privacy coins, and they were one of probably the first coins that weren't using SHA-256, and they were actually using various different methods to mix and randomize but however, they only had like one developer that was based in Australia, and it just fell on its tits. It just never progressed or went anywhere. In fact, there was a popular YouTuber. We're all into precious metals, so we all know him, Bill Steele. He did an excellent documentary, like The Secrets of Oz, like, you know, like the Money Masters or something like that. Really, really good documentary. Go check it out if you don't understand fractional reserve banking. It'll open up your eyes. It'll be life-changing. He mentioned it on his thing, and I knew it was getting traction, but it was only in there for about a month or two. And then when this Darkcoin thing came about, and then when Max Kaiser mentioned it as well, I realized there's something here. But even then, it's funny to talk about it now. I knew Darkcoin wouldn't go mainstream because you can't have a name like Darkcoin, you know, go because it kind of carries
you need
negative.
To make it more politically correct. How about tanned coin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. White coin wouldn't really work with it as well.
Dark coin, the name was something that drew me to it too, because the dark wallet was out. It was a cool name. It worked for when we had it, but yeah, it's
yeah, and I still find it crazy that people actually thought Bitcoin was private, and like that's the so when the website first launched, Joel kind of encouraged me to do this article. It was like a caffeine well, I don't say massive
caffeinated
rant on Charlie, because it just annoyed me. And I'm not dogging on Litecoin, but it's just kind of like they're in denial. So for those that don't know, Litecoin came out 2011, Bitcoin 2009, right? And like at the beginning of the year, Charlie Lee was on this podcast, and he finally admitted that privacy is an issue, right? If you go into a coffee shop and you pay with your Litecoin or your Bitcoin, that person's then knows your address ID, right, to your wallet, right? You've got something to go back. So then you know how much they've got basically in their bank account, where they've sent transactions before, how much, and then in the future as well. And he's telling me it's taken him all this time to 2017 just to figure this out, when people have been telling him that over and over again. And now finally, he's just saying, oh, I've just had this amazing revelation. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? Do you think we're that stupid? I mean, what is going on? Am I the only one? Because anyone that's been on this journey has known about this issue. So people that actually are in this tech space, that actually want this to be a solution.
Do you want to take it a step further? Want to take this insanity a step further? I saw some Reddit posts for the darknet market subreddit, right? And they're talking about Bitcoin, and they're saying, the transactions don't go through these fees. They're insane. They're finally ready to stop using Bitcoin and look for something else. And first off, that blew my mind, that how are you paying for things in Bitcoin still? How's anyone to start out with? But also, why is anyone buying things off the darknet with Bitcoin? What people have been tracing it through blockchain analysis tools for years now. People have gotten busted after getting, like, you're still buying your darks, crazy stuff, your wildly illegal things with one of the most transparent forms of payment on the planet. What are you, insane? Like, how are the darknet people still doing this? And then they were like, we need to find something else. And then someone's like, hey, why don't you switch to Dash? And they're like, we don't like Dash. We don't think it's private enough. You're using the most well-known cryptocurrency out there that is so not private whatsoever, and you want to go to a more private solution. You just say that one, you don't buy their whole privacy thing from that. Let's just keep using Bitcoin then and pay insane fees and wait a long time and have worse privacy. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
there's no rationality. Seriously, if someone wanted to, some enterprising young officer of the law wanted to just make a name for himself, you should just hang out in that subreddit and just figure out who's on the darknet, and then just start using blockchain analysis and bust everyone, because they're all using Bitcoin. They're gonna all be traced. They're taking their lives into their hands like this.
Well, Joel,
anyway, sorry, rant over.
Snitchies get stitches, right, Brian?
Yeah, and the Charlie Lee thing, he knew about he knew about the privacy before 2017 because there was a video of him from years ago. I believe it was at the Miami Bitcoin conference where he was telling the viewers of, I don't remember exactly who did the video, but yeah, he was telling them that he didn't like dark coin because there was I think he said million. I've got the quote somewhere. Millions of coins mined in the first couple of hours. So he was, yeah, he just he was spreading FUD back then, or he didn't do his research, or maybe he didn't know.
I've
maybe
not
he's
always
clueless.
felt this way about Monero, to be fair. I remember when I first got Darkcoin, because for those that don't know, Monero launched about 3-4 months after Darkcoin did. So I actually wanted to make sure.
Meaning BitMonero launched a couple months after Xcoin. Let's keep it real and old school here.
Yeah. So so when people started talking about Monero, obviously there wasn't many in the privacy centric coin space, right? So I wanted to make sure that I was on the right team. So I tried doing some research, and keep in mind Monero was still quite in its infancy. And at that stage, we had our own wallet and all that sort of stuff. But when I looked into Monero, everything was like command prompt based, and I just thought, no one's going to use this. No one. It's like this is not gonna happen. And then I kind of left it for a while, and then I just remember people complaining, saying like, oh, we need a better wallet. And then it just seemed like for years they were saying, oh wait, we're going to get a GUI, like a graphic user interface wallet, and things are going to get better. And it just seemed like they were attacking everyone else but not themselves. And I just kept thinking to myself, if you put the same energy that you put into attacking other people on your own coin, you might actually get somewhere. And unfortunately, it still seems to be the same case.
Yeah, their community's got a little bit better lately with new people. I remember when Fluffy did that troll where Joel Owen, I think he wrote a story about it or something, when he trolled the price and had everybody, and then he dumped on all of them after he had some big announcement. What was that about?
Yeah, at Consensus, he basically said there's going to be this big announcement. It's going to be huge. It's going to, and then the price just went way up. And I know at least Whale Panda was in on it. Whale Panda on Twitter. I don't remember his real name, but one of the Bitcoin Blockstream loving trolls was in on it at least. And then at peak price, yes, thank you, Owen Mall from the comment section. It was the Monero Enterprise Alliance, which is makes fun of the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. Just said, oh, we're announcing this big thing, and then it was just all a troll in a game, and the price crashed, and the subreddit was just insanely filled with just people just losing it. We need to crucify Fluffy right now, kick him out. Ah! Like everyone was so upset with him, and they got over it, which I think is bizarre. Or some of them just left the community too, and he had like his wife defending him on Twitter and stuff. Like he was in deep doo-doo. And I did like a response video to him, basically just saying, you got to grow up, dude. The crypto space has to grow up. We have to realize that we're serious. We're playing with people's money here. We're creating money. We're encouraging things. There's no reason this should all just be a joke. And anyway.
Yeah. Go to 1415 has commented saying, Monero is so opaque. How can it even be trusted? What's going on behind the curtain? Question mark. What do you guys make of that?
It's gotten better, actually. They had some issues.
You can't look at their blockchain, right? They're not
right. Yeah, you have to trust the math. And Toke Normal had a great little gift about how, E equals MC square, that's math. And then he said that's the, I forget how he said it, but then he showed a rocket going out of control. He said that's the implementation. So you can trust the math, but maybe not their implementation. And with Monero, they've had all kinds of issues and hacks and stuff like that, as far as Joel's written about several of them. But yeah, all their transactions, I believe, from when they started up until just recently, have been able to be unmasked.
Up until the beginning of this year, I guess.
Yeah, but supposedly now that's fixed. But we've heard that before. But they do have, I guess, stealth addresses, and I think they have fixes in place now. But they could find something else.
Yeah. So we had a comment saying,
that's the thing that's interesting. The thing that's interesting to point out is it's kind of an interesting mix of a lot of interesting, smart, dedicated, hardworking, open source, dedicated people coming out working on this project, and then a few weird, sketchy characters that have sort of lied and smeared and stuff. There's this weird mix of people in the community there, and from everything I've seen recently, or not everything, but a lot of things I've seen recently seem to indicate that there's a lot of problems that got brought to light that have been taken seriously, and there's working on fixes. For example, there was this big hyped, oh my gosh, we're going to do something about the fees. So right now, the Monero average transaction fee is about $5, right? Which is pretty insane. I mean, it's not Bitcoin insane. Nothing is Bitcoin insane at this point. It's about $5, and they're addressing it. Now, here's where this really becomes a this is where it becomes a very illustrative moment. It's a problem. They're addressing it. Perfect. Props. Respect. However, it hasn't been a problem until they've been addressing it, which is funny because every time you'd mention it and any kind of problem from, well, the fees are so high, and then just be like, oh, don't worry, the fees are going to go down the more these, because the variable block size, it works this way, except the more use, the more price, the higher the fees go. Surprise, surprise. So basically the whole world was being lied to up until now. They have a solution to the problem that it was not a problem, but now it's a problem that now that there's a solution. And so there's that whole weird mix of actually working on solutions for problems mixed with we just want to pump the price and lie to everyone and smear everyone else. It's kind of a, and I hope any community wants to grow has to move past the evil smear part. And so as it's been growing, I think there's been less of that. But, you know, honestly, all the old guard has to kind of disappear or they have to just move on to something else before all the people sincerely trying to make a usable and very private, it was based on hype that actually was up to the hype. And so those people have to just take over.
Yeah. Let's move away from Monero.
Yes, thank you. I'm getting
so
a little
we
bit
don't get, yeah, we
get
don't
my heart
want
rate up.
Yeah, I'm so triggered right now. No, just say we've got a bit of variation. So I've got a question for you both. If Roger is Bitcoin cheeses, or referred to as Bitcoin cheeses, who would be Dash cheeses?
Before I answer that question, I must point out that Uphold has a virtual card for different currencies, and the one for Bitcoin Cash has like a Bitcoin Cash banknote thing on it with Roger Ver with like a Jesus little cowl thingy on. So it's like actually it was pretty funny. Yes. Well, first, what do you mean by Jesus in this case?
Well, that's what I mean. This is why I thought it'd be an interesting conversation. So for those that don't know, Roger was really the first angel investor in Bitcoin, right? So all these startups he would help fund. So BitPay goes on. Even Charlie Shrem's first venture was funded by Roger. So Roger there.
Basically, he kicked off the religion of Bitcoin.
Essentially, yeah, because all the companies around the Bitcoin space, Bitcoin wouldn't be what it is today without Roger. It'd be somewhere very, very different. So that's why, and he was very generous with his Bitcoin as well to help distribute, to help grow Bitcoin as well. So that's why I know now, obviously it's going on with Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, it's a very trivial thing. However, he earned that name, Bitcoin Cheeses, and is still referred to as Bitcoin Cheeses. So I was just thinking, like, who would be Dash Cheeses?
I don't know. I would say Evan. There's really no. Yeah. Now Evan's probably going to get that title just because there's really no other person deserving.
Was saying, Amanda, but that would be more what, Mary Magdalene or something. I don't know. That's a problem with these religious comparisons. They don't always sync up in the real world.
Yeah, it's
the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, perhaps we should move away from religions.
Yeah, this is getting funny.
People get offended so easily these days. It's like,
yes, no offense is meant.
Yeah, it's the
Yes.
victimhood culture, isn't it? Like everyone wants to, you know.
Oh, now
Anyway,
you offended someone. Hold on.
yeah, no, no, I've offended some victims somewhere.
Damn
I'm the
millennials, get
victim.
off my lawn.
Hey, I'm a millennial. Now I'm offended. Anyway, let's stop offending people and talk about something that
Yeah, so it's coming up to the
offends
holidays.
me even more.
It's coming up to holidays, Christmas time.
It's
So
beginning to feel a lot like Christmas.
so we had a few articles
Get
come
your
out
Dash t-shirts
in the past
from,
few
what is
weeks.
it, tpublic.com/dash. What is it? What is your address for your store?
Well, I'd rather you say discover-.com because that's what we want to promote.
Dash.com.
But
Yeah, anyway.
we had a few articles in last week showcasing some businesses that are listed on discover-.com. If you don't know, it's an online business directory. It's free to submit your business. If you're watching, go check it out. Yes. However, how can we help people that want to give Dash for Christmas? We spoke about Dash wallets, paper wallets. So it's paper.dash.org for a paper wallet, right? However, if we're going to tell people to do that, I think really we should encourage them to laminate it as well, because things can go wrong, cards can get wet in the post.
Wallets freak me out. I knew someone who had a paper wallet printer, and he's always printing out Bitcoin paper wallets back in the day. And just something about sending all your money in this piece of paper that I can't check on, or I don't know if the private key will work. I don't know if it gets scratched and I can't get it. It's terrifying. It's worse than having like a hot wallet in exchange, in my view.
Do you know what I would like? There was I think it's in America. You got one called GibGab or something like that, where you can send like these e-cards. So like all these e-cards, JibJab, that's it. So basically, instead of mailing your birthday, your Christmas cards, or Happy Hanukkah or whatever, right? You can send an e-card, right? It's good for the environment. So what I would love to see is, imagine if you could send a digital sort of like paper wallet to your friends' email addresses, but it was like Christmassy. So it's just like, hey, Merry Christmas, blah, 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 and then with the code, blah, blah. And then you could link it, because the problem I have with paper wallets, if you put that in there, then you really need to put some instructions with that as well. If they're newcomers, to say, hey, look, here's how you take the money off, and don't leave it on there. Here's a wallet, all that stuff. But then you've got to cram all that into an envelope, and there's no really written instructions. Perhaps, I don't know if we can get it done before Christmas, but maybe we should have done like a competition on some kind of artwork or some guidelines. Say like, hey, if you're going to give out Dash paper wallets for Christmas, a competition for the best person to write the best step guidelines that people can print off and include that to give out to friends, family, colleagues that you want to do this for, then that would have been really good.
Let me shill for a buddy here for a second. My buddy Troy lives in Austin. He does crypto art, which are these are limited edition prints of it's nailed into there too much. Anyway, limited edition prints of like cryptocurrency art, and down in the corner is a public key QR code. Load up the artwork, and then on the back there's a little sticker you take off with the private key. There's like instructions, there's like all kind. So there's the whole package there, and you get like a nice gift collectible, not just a piece of paper they're going to lose. So if you can go to
perhaps we can jack the instructions.
Well, here's the thing. He said, and if you're watching this, Troy, you need to get on that Dash piece of some kind, because we need it. Basically, he had a dark coin piece.
I remember.
And let me find. I think I remember he had like 2 left, and they were extremely expensive. But yeah, he had they're limited edition prints, right? So once they're done, they're done. And let me see. Is there anyone that's still in stock? I think the dark coin one is done, but if you do like V for Vendetta looking guy, with the mask, the Guy Fawkes mask, and whoever has one of those, they were going for like the large ones were going for like $3,000 or something at the end because they're so limited. But you should be able to get one for like 40 or 60. And this guy was hustle. So at the Texas Bitcoin conference, this is what he does for a living. He sells cryptocurrency based art, like art prints. It is. And at first I'm like, how can you make a whole living off of that? But at the Texas Bitcoin conference, you saw him pop, and he sold like a couple, like 150 of them or something.
Wow.
It's just like, that's like a few months salary for some people just on one weekend. So yeah, and they're I think they're like an average like 60 online or whatever. But there's so there's really good stuff. As soon as he gets that Dash one, that would be a great way to gift Dash. You just say, here, I'm going to get you this limited edition artwork that has a little Dash QR code. You can put the Dash in there and just keep it, and there you go. But one of the best ways to get someone Dash is to, if you're actually seeing them for the holidays, which is kind of the point of the holidays, of like, you just pull them aside, get them on their phone, get them to get a wallet in front of you, send them the Dash on the phone, and watch them as they handwrite out their seed. Just don't remember their seed, because that would be kind of shady. So just have them do that, and then just follow up like a month later. Hey, you still got that? Hey, why don't you check it? And then the problem with the paper wallet is people, I forgot where I put it. If it's on their phone, they have their phone. And then you get the phone, and then you go into the wallet, and it's just like, oh, neat! You gave me like $20. Now it's 50. Oh my gosh!
And then they can, I can attest.
They
to
can
that.
actually check it.
Yeah, people. It really does work. How about this then? If sending a paper wallet in a card that you're not going to see in person, it's like people just don't want to feel cheap. I think that's what. Well, maybe it's just a British thing. I'm not sure. But like, if you sent a card with like a QR code to the Apple iOS store and then the Android Pay store to say, hey, download one of these wallets and send me your address, and I'm going to pay you, I don't know, $30-40 or whatever, right? Whatever you're going to give away, right? So then, but then again, like, will people do that? If you sent that to a friend, and like, I don't know if that would be a better option. But at the same time, I would actually be more happy with the mobile wallet option. I think if you designed it in the right way, to say like, hey, I'm gifting you this much, but you need to install this on your mobile phone app and then send me the code, blah, 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 blah. Do you think that would work? Do you think people would like that?
Maybe,
baby.
Yeah.
Do you think, or I don't know, what would you prefer? What do you think would work best with your mates? If you sent them a paper wallet, think about friends and family that don't know anything about cryptocurrency. If you sent them a card and they've just got a paper wallet, do you think they're going to look further into it? You'd have to have instructions.
Nah, no one's gonna figure out how to sweep paper wallet. And someone might have conned them into getting a Jax wallet, which doesn't let you sweep Dash wallets yet. And just there's got to be something.
I sent it to my my mom, the president. I sent it to her through Coinbase, Bitcoin. Back in the day, it was Coinbase. It made it easy for her, and she still got it there to this day. And I guess it's worth like 3,000 now, or probably more now that the price has gone up.
Yeah, you know what? This is a you can give like a crypto art, whatever. You can do some kind of paper wallet. Some people sell these little plastic cards that are paper wallets that you can just scratch off the back. I bought one of those. I don't know where I left it, but good thing I didn't put anything on it. But here's the big thing. What about when Evolution comes out, which is going to be before you blink, basically, right? I mean, I know it's like, oh, it's taken forever, whatever. What happens if you just say, just set them up with an Evolution account? Just say Evolution, and then you give them their first $10, $20 of Dash, right? And then they just, whenever they get in there, you got it.
Yeah,
I think that should be very simple to do.
Yeah, it's going to go through the email somehow. I think Proton Mail, we were supposed to integrate with that. I think that's still on the roadmap. But yeah, somehow just like the Coinbase.
This would be something for Chuck. This would be something for Chuck to answer, of course, if he was around. But I believe what you can do is, what you should be able to do is, for one thing, set people up with Evolution accounts. I think just like sort of Gmail, I think it'll be like invitation only in the beginning, which with Gmail was never like, oh, it's actually limited. It was just a way of getting people to sign each other up on these accounts and not to camp, right? And so if you just sign your people up, be like, hey, mom, I'm setting you up with an Evolution account for a Dash Pay account, whatever it's called by at that point. I'm setting you up with a Dash account for Christmas. And then she just gets the email, and then you just bother about opening the email until she does. And it's just like,
yeah,
why does it say I have $700 worth in there? It's like, I send you 10 cents. Oh my gosh. And there you go.
I don't know if it's the same in the States, but like if you give someone like a voucher for like Christmas, it's kind of like you haven't put any effort in. Do you know what I mean? Is it the same there? I'm guessing it's the same everywhere.
Yes.
Kind of like,
someone did.
Hey, I've gone out and I've purposely bought something for you that I think you're going to like. Oh, okay, I got you a voucher. You know, it's just like,
yes, gift cards are a terrible Christmas present for a lot of people.
That's why I feel like newcomers are going to get this, and they're going to be like, not ungrateful, but they're just going to be like, oh, okay.
Well, so if you spend all the whole holiday talking to whoever gets these accounts about, oh, it's so great, I'm going to set you up, I'm going to give you my own money for this, and like set them up, and you know, if it's a personal touch, obviously do that. But if you want a gift, here's a couple things you could do. First off, you could bug Troy to get the Dash edition out of Crypto Art. Okay, come on, dude. And the other thing you can do is you can get a little red bow and tie and give it to him. I'm getting my mother a hardware wallet for Christmas. So,
well, yeah, you're right. Hardware wallet. Get them a Trezor. Get them a Ledger. That's actually a pretty good idea. It makes sense. It's just the instruction side of it. Like, if we can get a good like printout guide to go with it, then I would feel a lot more happy recommending that, because the Dash I want to see used. I don't want it to be forgotten about and lost. Right? We want to help the network, right? So it needs to be done in a beneficial way. I almost feel like there needs to be some kind of experience, and that's why I kind of got that e-card thing in my mind. Like, imagine if there was some kind of like Christmassy video, like ding, 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 you know, he's playing Christmas, like Merry Christmas, blah, 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 welcome to Dash, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, dashing through the snow. There you go.
Yeah, dashing through the snow. Merry Christmas, Dash, blah, blah, blah. Here's a link to your wallet. Oh, this would be amazing when Evolution comes. Here's a link to your wallet, blah, 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 blah. Joel has sent you $50. Well, $50 worth in. So, well, this much in Dash, and it's currently worth this much in dollars, euros, wherever you are in the world. And it'll just be like a really nice kind of automated process where you can actually
when you
gift
open it
people
up,
things.
It has some trippy video made by Mark, just air horns and just flashy things everywhere.
I'm gonna do that. Maybe like the Pepe, like Santa, you know. But like,
oh my goodness, people! One of my Shapeshift transactions went through during this podcast. It was only like 32 hours I had to wait. Wow, this is great. I love Bitcoin so much.
How much was it?
Sorry, carry on.
$25, $25,
$250 that I paid. It was like $280, but I paid the rest in fees.
Yeah.
I did find the Charlie Lee quote. I believe this was from 2015 Miami Bitcoin conference where he was spreading some FUD. So the quote is, I don't know where the video is, but I wrote it down from the video. He claims, and I confronted him about this, he didn't have nothing to say. He linked to a Monero troll post. He claims that, quote, 10 people mined 1 million coins in the first half hour. And yeah, even the trolls know. They don't even, they know that's not true. So 10 people mined 1 million coins in the first half hour. That's why he doesn't like Dash. I told him, well, you should like it because that's not true. You need to take another look. And yeah, no, that's totally
right. Well, this is coming out. This is actually directly quoted from Charlie Lee. This is from the document I done. Listen to this. This is coming from Charlie. The one major thing missing from Bitcoin and Litecoin being good money is fungibility. So if I, let's say, bought like 10 Bitcoins on an exchange and deposit it to my wallet and want to pay someone for coffee or for whatever, I want to pay someone back $5 for lunch. I send him $5 from those 10 Bitcoins. Then he knows that I have 10 Bitcoins or $10,000 in my wallet, and he can track where that money came from and where I spend it next. It seems kind of silly that if I pay him $5, all of a sudden he has access to all my information about how much money I have, where I'm storing it, how I'm using it, and he can track where that money came from and where I spend it next. It's not about buying drugs. It's about when you are using money. You don't want to have to decide which one of those coins to spend due to it having some history. It's like if you take out your wallet to pay someone and you have to decide which one of those $20 bills to use because one of those $20 bills is tied to more private information you don't want anyone to know about. So like,
yes, and it's important so that he clearly gets it at the same time as, you know, Litecoin's been kind of not doing anything for a long time. Dash makes a truly fungible money supply because one little bit is the same as the next, right? And also, the more you mix, here's something to think about. The more you mix, the more fungible the non-mixed Dash becomes. Because, like, what happens if, and cheers to Dash Nation community member Toke Normal for pointing this out, and it's in an article that I wrote that he basically wrote half of. I just copy and paste his conversation in there. But he basically, if you send Dash around or Bitcoin or Litecoin, something like that around, it has that transaction history. With Dash, if people mix, at some point, somewhere in those coins' history, there's going to be a big mixing event. And then everything in the past is jumbled. And so the entire coin supply has less of a history. So even if you've been using you get some coins from your friend, if whoever sent them to him mixed, then it's just from your friend to you. That's the entire history. And then it goes on and someone else mixes. Then even if you're not mixing, the whole supply ends up being a little bit less kind of tainted in that way. And also, it's interesting to note that that is true fungibility when you actually mix the coins because it comes from, you know, who knows. Interesting to note, as far as I know right now, Monero does not have HD wallets, or rather does not have multiple addresses. Maybe, I think there might be two from like one wallet, but usually it's one wallet, one address, like old school Bitcoin. Through encryption, all that's hidden. So this is what Toke Normal pointed out, is it's not actual fungibility, it's sort of fake it till you make it fungibility, because you can't, because it hides the fact that these coins have very specific histories. And for example, in the event of a quantum computing or whatever, that would make it less private than Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin, at least you got a wallet and you can send you have multiple addresses associated with that one wallet. If you just have like one address, one wallet, then that all gets demasked. And that's one of the reasons why Evan had the foresight to do what he calls off-chain privacy, and why he's decided to, or why the Dash developers have considered other options but have decided to stick with the mixing route, because it doesn't have that looming on the horizon that at some point, you know, every encrypted privacy coin will be de-anonymized.
Yeah, I think.
Present. And but that's a very Keynesian thought process. It's, in the long run, we're all dead. In the long run, who cares if those suckers in the past have their dark dealings all exposed?
Well, if I'm doing the Troll Patrol, I believe that the Monero people do say now that they have stealth addresses, and that the stealth addresses will mitigate the quantum issue. Now, anything before they had stealth addresses, which is just new, all those will definitely be unmasked, and you'll be able to trace all those. But supposedly, since they got stealth addresses, it nullifies the whole quantum computer. De-anonymizing their encryption. One thing I would like us to, if that is true, I would like us to look into something what Zcash is doing, and keep our mixing and everything how we do now, kind of how Zcash has theirs, to where it's all transparent, but then have another option to where we have an encrypted option similar to Zcash or whatever, the ZK snarks or something. So we have two options. Unlike Zcash, their first option is totally transparent. There is no mixing. Well, we could do one better. We could have our first option to be just how we have now with the mixing and everything else, and then have a second privacy option that has the stealth addresses and the ZK snarks or whatever they're, I think Ethereum's going to use that. It'd be nice to have those two options. We definitely have plenty of room, or we will. 400 megabyte blocks. We're going to, unlike those other coins, we're going to be able to scale.
Well,
guys,
we'll see.
I had an idea.
I mean, it all depends on what improvements end up being made to privacy, and that's the thing is, Bitcoin used to be private. It was less private than it is now, but it's still more private than now because of the lack of knowledge about how to trace blockchain transactions. And so this is an arms race, right? This is the privacy arms race of technologies for obfuscating transactions versus people trying to unmask them and the analysis tools they have. So, for example, you get quantum computing and undo all the encryption in privacy coins, then there will be another solution that then is resistant to that. It's going to be a constant battle. That's exactly it. Two things you need. One, you need constant eye on development to always be looking forward and always stay one step ahead of the problems and threats. And two, you need some kind of honesty about the threats that you actually face. And that's the one thing that makes me much more comfortable with something like Zcash or Dash, because anytime there's been some sort of vulnerability or a problem, it's been immediately admitted and dealt with. A lot of, you don't know how this will work in the future, but there's been a lot of past dishonesty in the Monero community, and some of the developers have actually called that out, saying that this is not a good approach to have. That we should be embracing our flaws and fixing them as soon as possible, where some people choose to ignore them and lie about them.
Yeah. Well, speaking about that, the reason I brought that up is because as a Dash Force treasurer, as y'all both know, the last couple of months, I've had issues sending out private send transactions to where there wasn't enough denominations. And I thought I had everybody's stuff private ready to send out. And I got about halfway through, and then I run out of denominations, and then I have to send back and do a second mix. So yeah, two solutions would be great. I like how the Zcash, I don't even know if it's technically possible what I'm talking about, but yes, if the stealth addresses do solve that issue that Monero's had with the quantum computing, decrypting, de-anonymizing their encryption, then that may be a second option.
Now think about this though. There's always atomic swaps, right?
Yeah.
So atomic swaps basically allow a transaction to be a coin to be trustlessly swapped for a different coin in a different chain. And so already people, do swaps back and forth between other things. And so it is theoretically possible that if for whatever reason you're using it, whatever solution you're using right now does not work, you could just switch it to some other coin for just that very specific use case. For example, what happens if you're all in Dash, but you want to fuel some sort, you want to do a crypto Doge, like a crypto kitties, but the next generation that's going to also destroy the Ethereum blockchain, but that's a different story. And you want to do that, you don't have any Ethereum, and Dash doesn't do that kind of smart contract. You just atomic swap to get your kitty going, and then whatever's left, you just swap back. And there's always going to be a lot of uses in a blockchain agnostic world for things like that. And here, well, the other thing is, obviously, we don't know exactly what are the limits of a mixing style solution. And I do know that this has not been covered very well, and people don't even really pay these days. There's minor private send mixing here and there, like improvements here or there. However, there are major overhauls planned for evolution. And one article where I talked about, I think it's Dash's privacy roadmap is what it's called. I did talk to some developers about some of those, and a few things that we know are, first off, you're going to rename it cash. So in the evolution wallet, you're going to have a cash balance. So instead of where it is now, where you just have Dash in your core wallet, and when you decide to mix, it mixes it all, and then the inputs are mixed. You can send them out regular or private send. With where it's going to be is you just drag and drop, right, your funds or just to your cash balance, and that'll be automatically mixing the whole time, including for mobile devices, which right now mobile devices, especially according to what the guy who runs Airbits was telling me, encrypted blockchains have a lot of problems with mobile devices because of the way a light wallet has to communicate with a node. And so that makes it to where it's very difficult to actually have, or he didn't think it was really possible or easily possible to have encrypted privacy on a mobile device. And supposedly, one of the only things that was holding back Dash from having private send functionality on mobile has been battery life. Right? It'll just drain the crap out of your phone. But supposedly, there's going to be improvements to mixing, so everyone's going to be mixing all the time with the Evolution platform. So you'll be able to mix in like seconds, basically, and just send out at any point. And that kind of practice of always putting stuff into your cash balance and always putting smaller regular transactions out also has a lot of privacy improvements over. You have this big pot, you take like 10 Dash, dump it in there, mix it all up, and then send out this big pot of 10 Dash. That looks a little bit suspicious on the blockchain. Sometimes you see this big mess of inputs going out in the same as one denomination. It's theoretically easier to link. So far, they've only been able to do that in non-real situations, right? In completely theoretical type things. They've not been able to replicate that in the real world. However, it doesn't mean that down the road, something similar won't be possible. So anyway, TLDR, private send's getting a lot better in Evolution, and I only know the tip of the iceberg. We'll have to actually get to talk to some devs about the details.
Yeah, Evan had said a while back something about that the mixing would be instant, and that he was talking about like, if I have 100 Dash that's not mixed and somebody has 100 Dash that is already mixed, somehow you could trade those like within a second, boom, and you're mixed, and then you can send out. So it'll be like mixing would be instantaneous. So that would be cool. That'd be cool.
One thing that I would like Evolution, while we're on the subject of Evolution, to include is there was a comment a while ago by Owen in the live chat, and he mentioned a Dash,
which I've been neglecting. I'm sorry.
And that kind of got me thinking, like, when Evolution is about, just listening to what you guys were just saying, wouldn't it be great if you could just imagine, you know how PayPal is right now? Imagine if you could send someone an email, so you know who you want to send a gift to say, okay, here's my email list. I want to send $50. So basically, you got an email saying, hey, Joel's just sent me, I've got an email from Joel. I've got $50 credit in PayPal. He's created an account for me. Click, and then I'll go into the web-based platform. And then I can use PayPal, as you know, everywhere. And this is the ultimate end game for Evolution. If we had something like that where we're working on a user-based name, we can introduce our friends, family, co-worker, colleagues into Evolution, and the ease of use graphic user interface that Chuck is designing, and I'm sure it's going to be amazing. But it might think about the power behind that. If you can wrap your head around the PayPal idea of, that's how PayPal used to bring people in. Remember when they first launched, they offered people discounts to sign up. Maybe an extra pillar that we can add is us enabling people within the Dash community to invite people to Evolution by emailing them and setting them up with an account and giving them some balance so they can come in. And then that will help encourage some heavy hitter businesses to adopt Dash payments as well with the DAPI. And we can really take off like a launch pad, next level stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. That's basically that's the plan. Yeah. So like if they had that functionality, I mean, like, I know they want to get businesses involved. They want to make it easy. We spoke about the DAPI, hoping we can have Ian on at some point to talk about the Dash Drive. We need an update from Alex about Hong Kong, what's going on with Evolution and everything else as well. But I think we know where we are right now, but like, if we know where we're heading and we know we're going to have this well-rounded solution, then people that aren't as tech savvy and for complete newcomers that don't even have to understand how things work in the background, it just works. Just if the experience is good and you can spend it and it is accepted in many places, then you're on a home run. And I know that is the plan, but we need to make this happen.
I'll explain something. That's another thing I'm really looking forward to is the Evolution username. And this is why it's so important, because think about on social media, it's like, oh, who's your friend? Like you want to, like you run into someone, hey, where are you? Let's connect on Facebook. And then you say, what's your name? Oh, my name is Mark Mason. You look in and there's like 12 Mark Masons. Which one is you? Is that you? Nah, not that one. It's the one with this picture. Oh, okay. And then you can connect. There's still that gap, that bridge, right? And you can query people, or I mean, you could look at like a big long string of code that just takes you like a hyperlink that takes you right to the name, but you have to have some sort of electronic communication with that person. You have to have someone copy and paste a code or whatever. But think about the Twitter handle. Twitter, it's at whatever. It's a very human way of just accessing it. Like, for example, if you look up my first and last names on Twitter, who knows what you'll find? I mean, there's a lot of people who have a similarly written names, but then can you type out like an accent and stuff? It gets to be a mess. And so if someone says, hey, look me up on Twitter. Yes, but look at this. Check this out. You know how you can find me on Twitter right now? At the Desert Links. Bam, right there. What if you could just say, oh, sorry, you meet up with some acquaintance and you lose your wallet or whatever. I'll pay for lunch, and then on your way out, he has to run. He's like, hey, how do I hit you back? I'm going to give you Dash. Oh, just, the Roaring Chihuahua. But I just came up with that. It's funny. Anyway, I'll just send some to the Roaring Chihuahua, and you just go up on the Roaring Chihuahua, and then bam, there you go. Straight to exactly who you want. Right now with crypto, you have to find some way to connect like a text message or something like that and copy and paste that long public key and just send it over. And I hear Evolution's gonna have like a lookup type thing where you can look up people by name or whatever. And still, like, that's pretty good, but it's not perfect because you might look through and then who has their profile picture, who has one of those Twitter egg pictures. And then if you just say, go right to at the Roaring Chihuahua, dibs on that name, by the way. That's going to be
I mean, like they've mentioned the Apple, face scan, fingerprint. We can talk about different ways of using 2FA.
Graham is trolling us in the comments. Enter Festi.
But
yeah, I like Festi.
At some point, there's going to have to be some kind of RFID, or people are going to have some QR codes. When we're going to get to the stage where everyone born in the world is given an identity, like not just a birth certificate, but like a QR code or an implant. I know Brian's going to start screaming globalist and fucking banging the table like, oh, the central world, one world government, new world order. Yes. But I mean,
when are you getting your Evolution ID tattooed on your forehead there, Mark?
And then you go to the shopping store and you want to buy something, you just blink. I can track where you are in the world. Hopefully not that
exaggerated. Can you imagine how creepy that'd be? Everyone walking through the store.
It's like Minority Report. Yeah.
But I mean,
it's pretty messed up.
I think that's where it's going to go, because I think 2FA is going to have to be in everything at some point, and you're going to have to carry that identity with you everywhere, because there's going to be so many different services that you're going to have to, sign up for and use. It's going to have to come back and be unified into one central thing. And that has to come back to your unique identity, but it has to be done in a way where, it's very difficult for people to take away from you. That's why I found it fascinating when we had Alex Werner on, and he was talking about, in the future, he sees everyone having a Trezor type device as it's kind of like mandatory. Like you don't even question it. It's just, it is what it is. Everyone has one. But I think it needs to be more universal. There needs to be a standardized approach that everyone's playing to. Like if you buy a laptop and it's got a USB port, right? Now every other manufacturer has to do that because all the third-party devices have to work. Now, I think that's going to have to be the same in terms of security and ID. What it will be, I don't know, but I think there has to be some way of overcoming this obstacle.
That's part of the plan as well, as I talked about at the Dash conference in London, that we will be an identity provider like Google. You'll be able to use your Dash to, it'll pop up. You can sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook, Twitter, sign in with Dash, and I guess it will use the private key cryptography.
So we just got a bomb from the BitCart team. We hope to add global Amazon in the new year.
Ah, awesome.
So
That's good.
Graham, can you break that down? What that means? Does that mean .co.uk as well? Because like,
Canada, yeah.
Like, I want to know. Like, you can't just say something like that. Like, so basically, someone asked about Canada Amazon, and yeah, that was the response. Global Amazon in the new year. But does that mean everywhere? Or was that restricted? Come on,
Yeah.
tell us.
Which new year? I mean, 2018 is a new year, but so is 2019. Bam. Also, is Amazon.com global anyway? Like, it could be a little play on words, could be a troll. Fuzzy Logic says, "What's Canada?" I have no idea myself. But here, what do the Irish use? For what Amazon do they use? Is there like an Irish Amazon, or is they use the UK and get triggered every time they have to use it?
I believe that's a great question. I'm sure Graham's told me this before.
Okay,
I don't think I have a .ie.
Amazon.co.uk. I'm sure, does that cover Belfast? And does that cover Cork as well? And if so, does both of those together cause some tensions?
No,
because I know that Amazon.bitpanda, the Austrian exchange, gives Amazon.de vouchers for Dash. So that's
the problem
even though it's Austrian.
The problem is Ireland's using dodgy money. They're using euros, and like we use pounds. The Great British.
Let me tell you, that's a rough one.
Yeah, you don't want any of those euros. You want to get. We don't want more paper pushers. You want some of that Dash. Like we want Dash integrated into Amazon. We don't want that funny money.
That's a great thing to end on, because we do need to wrap it up. But one thing I was going to say, a feature that's often overlooked, and it's been the holy grail for years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that euros? Oh god.
Yeah, we're good. I got a pile of these.
Graham has just said,
let's see.
Should have had me on the show, guys. I can't reveal my secrets over text. Well, Graham, if you would like to join us in the after party on Discord, hopefully we can talk about some of these ideas. There we go.
Yeah, he's got to join us, because I found some bugs I need to discuss with him on Bitcart. So yeah, he's got to join us. But let me just say this:
we got to wrap up him about Bitcart.
One of the features that's been the holy grail of crypto coins for the long time is the decentralized marketplace, and that's also a part of evolution. And I think that's going to be huge, especially if there's discounts involved for merchants and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just another evolution game changer.
This it's just raining like fake money here.
It looks like
money.
Yes, which, by the way,
I'm going to do the main one. This is the euros. This is just the money you don't want. I just keep it on the side. Like,
so about the last feature,
here. You know why?
The last feature. Sorry,
it's not borderless.
Oh, sorry, can't go through the screen. The last feature I'd want on a Dash wallet that does not have to be evolution necessarily. If you use the hash engineering, well, the new Dash Android wallet. If you receive Dash and have your sound on, it makes this little like sound, this little coin clinky sound. And I think that's cool. However, what I want it to do is I want there to be an option to where you can make it so instead of just pressing send, you have to do 3 to 5 swipes, and then it makes an air horn sound. So when you like try to send someone Dash, you go just make it rain like that. I'm not a coder, but that technical change would be so easy to implement, I'm sure, and it would make so many lives better. It would double the price of Dash, I'm sure. Just that alone.
I like the noise of the Android app. You know, when you send and you get money, and the Exodus wallet does that as well.
Exodus, yeah.
That's pretty good at that. But yeah, you're right. I think those little gimmicks and like that are pretty cool when you receive some money as well.
All right, chaps, we should probably get after partying.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Right. Okay. Well, this has been episode 29 of the Dash Force Free Amigos podcast. We've gone old school today. The 3 original Amigos, no special guests. We kicked it old school. We talked about origin stories. We talk about Bitcoin. We spoke about Monero. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
We went onwards and upwards from there.
I have a hangover already.
Dash Evolution. Now we're going to move over to Discord. If this is your first time watching us, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you haven't been to dashforcenews.com, what you're playing at. We're the #1 source for Dash News online. Go check out our articles. They come out on a daily basis. And that's it for this week's episode of the Free Amigos. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Stay dashy, yo.
Peace.